We're live, right? Yes, we are. We're live. So, back on the mic after the short break, and it's week one of preseason. I just kind of gave a preview as to who I see as players on the Buffalo Bills that I'm most excited to watch. And most of them were rookies. Most of them were fringe players. So, tune in, find out which ones I liked. I kind of just spoiled it, but whatever. So, hopefully you guys enjoy it. So, this past Tuesday, HBO released yet another season, released the premiere episode of Hard Knocks. It premiered, I should say, the premiere episode of Hard Knocks, HBO's Hard Knocks. And in case you haven't watched Hard Knocks, it's one of the best shows on television. And I say that, I don't say that lightly. I'm a harsh television critic. I think that there's a lot of shows out there that really suck, like just terrible. Shows that are sitcoms or scripted shows on CBS, like these shows that they have coming out. You watch the previews and you're like, man, that's gonna get canceled. Like there's just no doubt in my mind. Hard Knocks is a freight train. It's a reality TV freight train that HBO has done a fantastic job at finding the stories within the teams that you might not expect. And this season, it is a behind-the-scenes look, a behind-the-camera look at the 2017 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they're with a second-year coach, Dirk Cutter, or Cotter. I've always mispronounced his name. I think it's Dirk Cutter, but he was the former offensive coordinator for the Bucs when they had Lovie Smith at the helm. And when Lovie Smith was fired, Cotter was promoted, brought up to being their head coach. And it's no secret who they have. I mean, they have one of the bright, young, up-and-coming quarterbacks in the league, and that is Jameis Winston, a guy that, I do think has potential, as I just stated, but dating back to that 2015 draft, I really thought that Marcus Mariota, and I still do, believe that Marcus Mariota is the better of the two. Winston turns the ball over a lot. Mariota is a very versatile, elusive quarterback, and I think that he has all the tools to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league for many years to come in Marcus Mariota. I do think Winston does as well, but Winston has some, shall I say, personality traits that I don't really like in a quarterback. But part of that is what makes him the player that he is. So it's a double-edged sword with Jameis Winston sometimes. I do think he's got potential. I do think he could be one of the better quarterbacks in the league, much like Mariota. And last year, 28 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. A guy that did play well, but those 18 interceptions, you'd look for that number to come down in the 2017 season. But boy, do they have reason to have a competitive offense on this team with Jameis Winston, with the newly acquired Deshaun Jackson, with the newly signed, drafted, first-round draft choice O.J. Howard. Everybody knows I was begging for the Buffalo Bills to take O.J. Howard. I love O.J. Howard. I think he's going to be one of the great tight ends in this game. And I really, really, really liked that pick by Tampa to go after a tight end, to give Jameis Winston yet another weapon to throw to. And did I mention the underrated, completely just in the clouds, a guy that nobody talks about? And I mean nobody. I don't hear anybody talk about this guy, maybe in a top 100 countdown on NFL Network. But outside of that, Mike Evans. In the 2014 wide receiver class, a wide receiver that has been nothing but stellar since he was drafted by the Tampa Bay Bucs. One of the better wide receivers from that class, along with Odell Beckham Jr. The draft order of that draft obviously went Sammy Watkins, Evans, Odell Beckham, and then I believe Cooks and Benjamin. I believe I'm right. If I'm not, I apologize, but I believe I'm right. So this guy is 6'5", 230. He's tough. He's durable. He's nasty. He can be fast. He can do whatever. He can play whatever role a wide receiver should play inside an NFL offense. And I really enjoy watching him play. A guy that, frankly, I wish I had on more of my fantasy teams. But I don't. That's neither here nor there. I'm very excited to see what happens with this season. I know that they got a lot of guys that HBO will find on their team that make for an interesting storyline. And I appreciate the shout-out from Brandon Reed, who recaps the show on myfantasysportstalk.com as well as I will be this season on the Thomas Take. He wrote an article on myfantasysportstalk.com talking about the season 1 episode, the premiere episode, and usually the first one it gets off to a little bit of a slow start, but you know that is what it is. It's amazing to see a coach in a unscripted light in a meeting room in an office, a head coach like Dirk talk to Jameis Winston and say, hey, we got a great defense this year. We need you to take less risks. You have more weapons this year. It's kind of a year where it's not do or die for Jameis Winston, but this is a year where the Bucs should be a very good team. They have a young quarterback that can throw the ball. They have a huge question mark at running back because Doug Martin will be suspended. But they do have Jacquizz Rodgers, Charlie Sims, two guys that filled in for Doug Martin in years past. That timeshare has worked out pretty well. So maybe it won't be a question mark. But to start the season, that's not always a good thing to have your starting running back out. But on the defensive side of the ball, you know who they have. They have all-pro defensive tackle Gerald McCoy. And there are young rookies on this team and Riley Bulla who talk a lot of smack. And that actually impressed this team. And that was well illustrated by Brandon Reed in this article. And I thought that was really good that he was able to throw that in there on this article here. And I'm kind of paraphrasing it a little bit, but it just caught my eye. I'm like, oh, that was a good piece to write in there. So I'm excited. It's exciting to see teams, different teams through different lenses, and HBO Hard Knocks does that. It highlights that these guys are real people, real human beings, doing whatever they can to make a roster. And one of the more interesting cases of that was a couple seasons ago, maybe last season with the Houston Texans. There's been so many, I get them confused. But Charles Jones or Charles James was a corner, running back, wide receiver for the Texans, did all he could to make the team, and he got cut. He was picked up on waivers by the Ravens. He was on the Ravens for a minute. Now he's a Buffalo Bill. That's another guy that I could add to the intriguing players list of the Week 1 Buffalo Bills preseason game, apparently. A guy that I forgot about. Charles Jones the third. I can't remember which one. It's not in front of me right now. It's just a thought that popped in my head. But I really enjoy this show, and I'm excited that they picked a team that I wouldn't really care about normally. I don't wear Tampa Bay Buccaneers stuff. I'm not from Tampa Bay. I'm from Buffalo. I'm a Bills fan. Although I'm a Bills fan, sometimes there are teams that I have an interest in seeing how things pan out. Like the Cowboys and the Patriots and the Colts and the Giants. And there's teams like that I'm like, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But with Tampa, I've never really thought that. And now I will, due to the fact that it's on this show. So this show provides fans with a clean slate. You don't have to be a fan of this team. You just have to be a fan of football. If you're a fan of football, you will watch this show and you will enjoy it. That's the bottom line. And we've had some great moments on the show. Rex Ryan has been great for Hard Knocks when he had his Jets. And I expect many more moments to come. So that was my recap of HBO Hard Knocks Episode 1, the 2017 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, why I'm excited for it. And I'll be bringing you recaps every single week from here on out. Take care.